All right, everyone. Welcome back to the workbench. I have picked up another camera. So this is another Lumix GH5. This one, the seller represented it as it's probably cooked, but I'm no repairman. Already taken a little bit of a look at it. Whenever I took it out of the box, everything looks pretty good except for right here. So something that I'll zoom in a little bit or bring it up to you a little, you can see that that screw is actually kind of sunken into the plastic. And that indicates to me that either it took a hit there or somebody tried to take this apart and went a little rough on this guy. Maybe they broke the clip underneath here that kind of holds it up and keeps it from collapsing on itself like that. Looking around the camera, I couldn't really see any signs of entry. None of the screws have any real damage to them. I will say I neglected to take this off to verify, but these screws were all here. Everything looks good and looks like it was taken apart and put together relatively well. The sticker's in practically brand new condition. There's not really a scratch on the thing. There's some smudges on the sensor, which I'm gonna need to clean up. I've got to get the camera on so that I can get it into the sensor cleaning mode. Otherwise it just kind of bounces around, makes it really hard to try and clean it. But otherwise it looked great. That was until I went and tried to take out this bottom screw. Now this one's impossible for you guys to see on camera when I go to take it out. It's also a real pain in the butt to get to, so I was gonna go ahead and just get it out of the way and take it out before we started. But if you're able to see down inside of there, next to those 3 gold prongs directly to the left, there is a screw hole and there's no screw. So that tells me 100% someone has been inside of this camera, and I've got a feeling it was probably the person that sold it to me. I did send them a message before I found this out, and I was like, hey, just wanted to see if you could give me any comments or background on what's going on so I could share with my YouTube channel, and I'll see if he gets back to me. My hope with this camera was that there was maybe something wrong with the main board that I could go ahead and replace with the Japanese main board that we had, or maybe it was just an issue with the screen. But when I went to try and power this on, I got nothing out of the camera at all. There was no green light, no signs of life whatsoever, and it wasn't pulling any wattage from my power meter over there. So ultimately, the only way to find out what's going on with this is to go ahead and get into it. So I'm gonna go ahead and start the disassembly here. We've seen this once before, so I'm gonna go ahead and speed it up for you all, and hopefully we'll be able to re-meet here when we've got the 2 parts separated. Well, turns out I'm getting pretty good at this actually, so that went faster than I expected. So taking a look at the inside of the camera, and I'm not seeing anything immediately apparent. There is a couple of things like this ribbon cable here is raised up. Perhaps it was something that was replaced at one point, and it doesn't look like it's seated all the way. I'm not seeing anything that immediately screams at me that there's an issue with this camera. Somebody's definitely been in here, there's no doubt about that, but again, no corrosion, no issues like that. What I want to try and do first is just reseat some of these cables. Similar story over on this side here. Again, it does look like there's a couple things, like this cable doesn't appear to be fully seated in there. Maybe I'm wrong. I know there's also one underneath it that we can check here in a moment as well. But yeah, really what I want to do first off is just try and reseat everything. I really wish I knew what was wrong with this camera, because that would tell me what he was trying to fix, why he got in here in the first place. Now, I'm not seeing any missing parts. I don't see really any bent pins inside of the SD card slots. The HDMI looks good, the USB looks good. Really, I want to just try and reseat things, and let's see if we can go from there. So this is a little bit of an impromptu video, one that I wasn't expecting to shoot tonight, but it's getting a little late, and so I wanted to go ahead and get this out of the way because I don't know that we'll see this in the same state the next time we join together. So this is our GH5 completely disassembled at this point. So I found a couple of things out. First off, the motherboard from the camera that I just purchased is no good. I don't know why, but it's not getting power whatsoever. I can do some more troubleshooting on that a little bit later. But for now, I wanted to see what I could do to get a working camera. So I put everything together with the Japanese motherboard. I was having some trouble. It was a little bit laggy. It wasn't recognizing the image sensor, and ultimately just wasn't working how it should. So I took it apart, put that board back in, didn't work. Took it apart, put this board back in, didn't work. Took it apart again. And what I ended up doing is swapping out the image sensor cable. And so that's this cable that is standing up right here. And I took the one out of the Japanese GH5 to see if it would work, because it did seem to be in better condition than the one that I took out of this camera. Put it back together and it didn't work. So I was a little stuck at that point and ready to kind of just throw in the towel. I went ahead and disassembled it one last time and put it back together without really changing anything. I just wanted to take a look. I did clean up a couple of areas on this Japanese board that didn't have corrosion, but it had some kind of what looked like flux on it. So I wanted to see if I could just go ahead and get that cleaned up. When I put it back together, it worked. So the EVF worked, the image sensor was picking up an image. I was able to go ahead and plug the lens in from the other GH5 and a battery, and everything appeared to work. I went ahead and hit the button to take a picture, and unfortunately got stuck with this. So this is the shutter from the GH5, and this one has a mechanism on the inside that normally would allow this shutter to go back into the open position, and it has snapped off. So I took it apart. I tried everything I could to see if there was a way I could glue it back together. Maybe there was something that I could do to get this working, but ultimately, I think this shutter is just too far past gone. So I've ordered another one. It's going to be 50 bucks. And ultimately what that means is that I will have gotten this GH5 working for the cost of the motherboard that we had sitting around, the $250 for the camera itself, and of course the 50 bucks. Now that's assuming I can go ahead and get this all back together and remember how to do so. Unfortunately, the only place I could get a shutter from was directly from China, and it's telling me that it's going to be about 2 weeks to get it over here. Could be even longer. It's coming from an eBay seller, and I believe the latest date was August 18th. I'm recording this right now on July 29th. So no telling when I'm going to actually have that in. I'm going to hopefully be able to make enough of a video out of what we've shot already between that and the Pixel 8 Pro. That way I can go ahead and leave what we've got working on right here where it lies, and I can come back to this once we have the new shutter, put everything together, and fingers crossed, have another fully working GH5. This one I will more than likely be selling. I don't plan on keeping it because I really don't have a need for a second camera. The cell phone seems to be working just fine for that need. So again, hopefully we will be able to get back to this, get it all up and running. Again, the inside of this body is perfectly clean. There is no damage whatsoever, no corrosion. It's looking beautiful. I may have some trouble getting the Japanese language off of this motherboard because it does appear that they've disabled the language selection from the Japanese version. I'm hoping that there's a way to go ahead and modify the firmware or get a way around that, but I haven't really researched it a whole heck of a lot yet. All right, everyone, welcome back. So the last time we left, I had a pile of parts sitting here and a little bit of a defeated attitude. So our brand new, or rather taken apart previously, but put back together and gingerly cared for GH5 had a stuck shutter. And even though I disassembled it all the way down to the shutter, at that point I was unable to get it unstuck. After I cut the camera, I couldn't give up on it. It was almost midnight already and I had work the next morning. Ultimately, I went ahead and took it back apart, the shutter mechanism, found the part that was actually bent. It wasn't broken, but was bent. And I was able to go ahead and bend it back in a way that the shutter went back to a proper open state. I don't trust the shutter in here, and because of another reason that we'll talk about in a moment, I would not feel comfortable reselling this camera on. But as one of my commenters pointed out in, I believe, the very first video, these cameras do have a setting, because they are actually mirrorless cameras, to use an electronic shutter. And because I use this camera only for video, there's no need to have that physical shutter there. I'm not out taking pictures with this camera. So it really doesn't make much sense for me to need the physical shutter active. So I went into the settings and I completely disabled the physical shutter. So at this point, this is in what's called silent mode on the Lumix. The shutter does not ever go off. Even when you take pictures, it just simply uses an electronic shutter. And again, for my purposes, this is going to work great. I'll still be able to shoot my 4K 10-bit video. I'll still be able to go ahead and get all of the quality I was going to out of the other model. This one's even in a little bit better physical condition because it didn't have some kind of a plate on the bottom like this one did, apparently. So ultimately, this is going to be the camera that I keep. Now, that second item that I alluded to here is the language. So as we discussed last time, this camera did come from Japan. And one thing that they do in other countries is, well, specifically in other countries where there's a large disparity in the value of their domestic currency, is they will put in place lockouts to keep people from buying products from their country and reselling them on what they call a gray market as a US version. So essentially they charge us more for these cameras than what they pay at home. And because of that, they put locks in here to try and keep us from using these. In this case, even with new US-based firmware, even with trying to find different hacks or mods, there's no way that I can find to take the GH5 out of a Japanese language mode. I'm able to still use it. I can use Google Translate on my phone, hold it up to the screen, and see the settings that I need to. And really, once you've got these settings in, because I'm just using it as a, again, filming camera, all I'm going to do is hit the record button and be off to the races. So for me, this isn't going to be an issue. And again, still going to give me that great quality that I'm looking for, albeit just with a little bit more of a difficult way of getting around the menu system. So that leads me to the other GH5. So I really don't have a need for two of these cameras. Yeah, it would be convenient maybe to have a second one up above versus using the cell phone camera that I'm using now. But frankly, the rigging for something like that, something this heavy, would be a little bit of a bear. And the file size that this thing spits out is ridiculous. Even when we're talking about using the same 4K 60 or 4K 30 frames per second on this camera versus my cell phone, the cell phone file size is less than half. So not only is it easier to work with, and frankly, the quality is not that much different when you're just looking at a top down and we're looking at technical details, that I need to put this into production. Even if I did want to use a GH5 for my top down, it would be pretty lazy of me not to just get up, take it off the tripod, or just simply mount it overhead so that I could use it that way. So this will be the camera that I'm going to go ahead and sell. It is, again, in perfect working condition. It looks the part as well, because again, we did go ahead and replace all the rubbers on the outside of the camera. The only real issue with it is going to just be the physical defects on the bottom, where apparently it had some kind of, probably like a plate on the bottom, maybe some kind of an adapter plate or something like that. And it did scratch up the paint quite a bit. But otherwise, it's a perfectly working camera. So I expect to be able to get between $500 and $600 out of this. And of course, I will update the comment section once I have a final sale price, once I throw this up on eBay. As for the Japanese model, this is going to go ahead and go into rotation here at the studio. So I'm going to start using this camera as my main face-forward camera. There may be a day where I want to go ahead and take this back apart and actually replace that shutter, because while it is working right now, I don't trust it. So ultimately, we may come down to doing that at another time, but for now, we're just going to go ahead and put it in production. So that should be it for the GH5s for now. We still have those other parts that we discussed in video 2 of the original series that I'm going to go ahead and put up for sale as well. But for now, we're going to go ahead and leave it here. Thanks again so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you like what you saw. I've got another big project coming up real soon that I think you all will really enjoy. Catch you next time.